Hello and welcome to Snack Play Love. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I've been doing, show you, okay, the Premier Drafts. Done 8 of those so far on the channel. We've been doing alright, we've got up to silver. There was a couple of silly mistakes in the last one that lost us the games that knocked us out, but you know, that's magic. You kind of take the rough with the smooth. But today I'm going to do something slightly different and go into the quick draft. Now, unusually, the amount that you pay in gems and the amount that you pay in coins doesn't quite add up. 5,000 coins is equal to 1,000 gems. So, if you're brave enough to use your paid currency, which we have some left, you know, then A, we get a Godzilla. B, I can talk through the draft picks a little bit more relaxed and a little bit slower. Granted, last time I did this, we got such an obvious deck that it wasn't worth recording or broadcasting. But yeah, let's try it. Gems away. So, first things first, we always get a Godzilla style. It was the red one. It didn't load properly. Destroyer, perfect light form, which is Evercore Phoenix, which is a card we have. The Evercore Phoenix promotional art is a bit shitty, to be honest. So we will be using that, which is good. It's not the uncommons though. I really need the uncommons. Now, a couple of things to point out before we go anywhere. Draft helper enabled. Ratings by MTG Nerd Girl on Cool Stuff. That's different. They used to come from a different site. Never really noticed that. But if you hover over the cards, not only does it tell you about the card, horrible in the average deck, could be a fun build around card, but even then I think it'd be too inconsistent. It gives it a 1 out of 5 and tells me how many I've got in my collection. This does not work on the Premier draft. This is for the slow think about it draft only. So I know that this is a rare that I do not have any copies of. So if I wanted to bulk out my collection, I could do that. Similarly, and there are commons I don't have all of them on. I've only got 1 of 4 of those, which is strange because it's a colourless cycling card. And so I can take that late to fill out my deck, which secure in the knowledge that I am doing something that will benefit me long term and boost my collection. The site I get this tracker from is untapped.gg. In fact, as it's floating around in the background, we can do this. There we go. If I click on that, it'll probably show you all my account settings, so I'm not going to do that. But it is untapped.gg. You type that into any search engine, you will find it. Right. Let me just flick through the things. I like having a white background because it keeps my face bright. Unfortunately, the only place to use the computer has Windows directly behind me. So, picks. Realistically, the uncommons are very good. As it says, it's a 4 out of 5 in a cycling deck, and the cycling deck is probably the deck that you're going to come across the most in this slow draft form, because what happens is the bots don't value the cycling cards and the payoff cards as much because they require a lot of synergy, which is why I tend to do okay in these drafts, because the synergy decks outperform the bombs and removal decks. So when people are going, bread, I need to take bread, it fails. They're not playing best of 1 decks, then they're playing the wrong format, which is great because you can print them. But there are cards like this, Bastion of Remembrance, which makes tokens, and when creatures die, well, creatures we control die, the opponent loses life and we gain life. And Splendor Mare. Now, Splendor Mare is an interesting card because it goes in the cycling deck. It's technically a payoff because you can cycle something to get lifelink. And if you're just playing a white deck, you've got a 3/3. So that is a very good card to take first pick because it leaves you completely open. Dreamtail Heron, however, is one of the best cards that you could possibly take in the draft. As it says, everything you want in a card, because it's flying, so it evades things. It's a 3/4, so it's decently sized and decently costed. And if you mutate it, you draw a card. So you can cast it for 4 mana as a 3/4 flyer, which is ridiculous, and it replaces itself. So I would never ever be sad to take that. But I already have 4 of those because I draft that style of deck quite a lot. I'm going to end up drafting this format a lot more. So I probably will get all the commons and uncommons through draft, but I'm just going to take the Splendor now. Ordinarily, you'd be looking out for the removal this early on and seeing what's what. But the point is, in pack 1, you do not know what colours you're in. Never get married to this first card. This first card is just the card you want to play the most in the first pack. Now, the robots, or humans in the other version, have chosen to take the rare, and that's fine. It might have been a broken rare, it might have been just sort of a decently statted creature, it could have been a mythic, who knows. But we have wide removal, which you wouldn't want to take this early. Cycling 2 though. We have another good card for the flying deck, the white flying deck, because this is brilliant because you cycle it onto a flyer and then your flyers have lifelink and they just can't come back. You have removal, and it's removal that hits the things you most want to remove, and it's in the colours that we're already in. These seem to go a lot later in the bot draft than you would expect, and because we don't know for sure that we're in white, there are some more interesting cards we can take at uncommon that we're less likely to see again. One of those is Migration Path. Now this tends to be a 3-colour format. I have no copies of this card already because I'm very unwilling to craft things. As the person saying it says, they don't run cards as often as this as they should, because in a 3-colour deck, if one of those colours is green, you are definitely playing this card. Cycling means if green's your splash, you can still get to this card late game. It goes in basically everything. Green-white is a vigilance-based deck, which is hilarious. Okay, so if we knew we were green-white, we could take that and we could clean up our mana. But here we go. We can return a human card from the graveyard to our hand and a non-human card from the graveyard to our hand for the low price of 2 mana. That is the best human you've got that's died and the best non-human you've got that's died, including anything you cycled away. So if you've cycled away this non-human, you can get it back. And you can cycle it again, or you could cast it, you know? Creatures are sometimes creatures. I'm not that fussed about taking counter spells this early, especially when they're double blue. This I love because it makes your Godzillas flying, but is it too early to try and say these are our 3 colours? We've got the removal again. We've actually got the conditional removal, which you need a little creature on. I'm slightly down on that compared to how I was originally. In the Flash deck it's fantastic, but it is a sorcery. It's only 1 mana, but you can swing in with your creature. They think you've got a trick, you haven't. It doesn't die. You sort of use this post-combat anyway, but there's a lot of stuff that's got to go right for that one to work. To be honest, I think I'm going to keep us open for this one. I want to be flexible. I want to see what's going where. I'm going to take the good quality flyer. Looking at the draft pick numbers, they're all sort of reasonable 3s. Anything 3 or above is basically you can take this card and not be too sad. But realistically, I try not to look at the draft helpers for most of it. Now, we have a lot of fun here. We've got this, which basically is, in the right deck, it's a 4. That is basically describing most cards in draft. Humans you control get +1/+1. That is the black-white deck. You can keep picking these even and putting them in the deck, and your humans will get better and better and better. These are great if you're in 2 of the colours and you care about cycling, but otherwise you don't want them. As I say, 0/4, so if this was really late, I'd probably take that. But there are some cards that I have 4 copies of, and it is the removal, the links, which taps things down, and the Capsphere, which taps things down permanently. Now, they've put this at a 3.5 and this at a 3. That's probably wrong. This keeps things tapped down forever, yeah, sure, but this is a creature that is not a human, so you can mutate onto it. And if you're playing blue, then you're probably playing creatures to mutate onto it. So if you put your Heron, which we didn't take in pack 1, on top of this, then suddenly this is tap a creature down for 2 turns, draw a card. And that's probably win. That's probably won you the game. But that said, we don't currently have that much mutate. We're in the colours for it, but we don't have any. So I'm going to take the creature. I'm going to ignore the pump creature. Trample is more of a red-green thing. I'd be happy to take that later on, by all means. It's a fabulous card, but I'm taking the Tappy Boy. Okay. So this is interesting. Now, we know that Honey Mammoth's good because we lost to 3 of them in the last draft we did, but that was the human draft, not the bot draft. And the priorities of humans and the priorities of bots are not quite the same. This is fabulous in the draw a card deck. We drafted that a couple of drafts ago. We've got our enchantments making 8/8 Leviathans. You can draw an extra card a turn, but you have to discard a card, but that's not a problem. We're not fussed about convolute. This one, however, is a cycling card, and if we're going to get through and do damage, then it's a lot of fun. It's very good. I don't really want to take a recon this early in the draft because it's double blue, but then that's double green, and I mean a 6-mana 6/6 is nothing special, but this is something you can mutate onto, and giving something like the Helica Glider sort of the stats of a 6/6 because the first strikes and things, then that's brilliant. But neither of these two are mutate creatures. It looks like the robot draft algorithm is prioritizing mutate because we're not seeing it. So I'm going to take the cycling version. Okay, this is a more interesting selection. So we've got the uncommon. Whenever a creature mutates, they lose, you gain. That's fine, but it's not going to do much unless you're playing a really dedicated mutate strategy. The Death Touch 3/3 is the most interesting part of that card. The fact that you can put that on top of another card because of the mutate is also cool. But if you're mutating, this is the boy you want, because it enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1 counters on, and you can mutate onto it. And then when you do that, you get a body that has the +1/+1 counters on it. And if you've mutated onto it in a way that gives it more +1/+1 counters, you can keep stacking up. I do like Thieving Otter. The crab has massively overperformed a 1.5. They're saying, oh, it doesn't impact the board enough, and it's like, yeah, it does. It does. If you've got the Sultai enchantment, not Sultai, Simic, blue-green, from the uncommon slot, this just keeps getting +1/+1 counters every turn and becomes stupidly big. In theory, if you could put the +1/+1 counters on a Fertilid, then you could get a land every turn as well for the low cost of 2 mana. It does come in tapped, but we're taking that. And at the moment, I'm not too married to any of these colours. The white we've kind of abandoned, but because it's a splash and cycling, we could get back there. Dark Bargain and Bushmeat Poacher are very good cards. They're the best cards there. But I'm going to take Mothra. I mean, I know I've got a million of these already, but we shall take that, and that keeps us a little bit open. I like that it said the other players were passing. It's like, no, you can't click on that to see all the other players. They're not there. But I thought it would be interesting. I didn't notice this. Oh no, this is pick 8, so this is the last pack we haven't seen any. This is very good. If we've got the white-green Vigilance deck, then these just gaining you 2 or 3 life every turn put so many things out of reach. I love Survivor's Bond, and I love the Cycling Sandworm. So honestly, we saw one of those earlier. We've never seen one of those before. So I'm going to risk it, take the cycling card, and hope we get a Survivor's Bond later on. Although I don't think we have any humans. No humans. So it would be a little bit sad times, but so we could take the Convolute purely because we don't have one, and it makes our collection up. I have got 36 packs now, God, something like that, to open, so I will get a Convolute, so it's not like we're running short. 107.2 wildcards in the Vault Progress as well. I'm going to presume that we're Simic Mutate and take that, even though we don't have any Simic Mutate cards. That's just the best card in the colours that we're playing. I'm not going to worry too much about these. Now, we've got the Survivor's Bond. and that makes me very happy. We haven't got any humans yet, but it's not the worst thing. We've got 2 of those colours, and we haven't got any of those in the deck, and we haven't got any humans. The convolute's there again, but this is an uncommon, so I'm going to sideboard that. Flying card is very good. That's for the black-white keywords deck, which is fabulous. Again, this is telling me that white wasn't taken very highly by the computer. So let's see what rare 2 is. It's a 5. Oh, goodness me. Okay, so it's a mythic rare. Let me hover over it so you can actually read it. The card next to it I love as well. Whenever this creature mutates, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land permanent, put that card onto the battlefield or into your hand. So, if you have Illuna Apex of Wishes or Girodar, then you can just flip Honey Mammoths out of your deck all day long. This is a fabulous card. It boosts your team. We're not a go wide deck though. We are definitely taking this. Just looking at the other things. It's the first decent piece of removal we've seen. As they've put it as a 4. Yep, I agree. What did they say for this? Strong creature if cast normally, but the value gained off the mutate is insane. It only requires you between 2 of the 3 colours. That's a good point actually. We don't even need to put red in our deck to mutate this. We can cast it for 5 if we do though. Even if I was only in blue with a red or green splash, the mutate costs on the Apex cycle are extremely forgiving. Cool. Yeah, drag it over manually. It's weird that it gives you the other name in the thing. Well, this is a new pack. So, these 2 cards are now a lot lower on my priority list. Yep, pick one, going in the sideboard. If we end up getting some cool white stuff, then so be it. I mean, brilliant. But we now want to make sure that we have things that can flip down, because if we flip down Reconnaissance Mission or Greater Sandworm, we're happy. If we flip down Mysterious Egg, we're probably pissed off. But it's a mutation trigger as well, so we need some more mutants. Face Dolphin's quite fun to mutate onto, but there is also this Ominous Seas. I don't think we're in the draw a card deck. We didn't take these when we ended up in the massive draw a card deck, and it was kind of a bit sad. That's really good in the Black-White Humans deck. But the best card is this, which is red. Target creature equal to the number of lands you control. With that in the deck, because I quite like to cast it, and Fertilid can fetch me a basic land, it's basically Evolving Wilds but green, I'm going to put a Rumbling Rockslide in the deck if I see one. So now, this opens up a little more options. It looks like we're not seeing that many big blue-green mutate things. I mean, who knows what's going on with the robot drafters. It's so much more... what's the word I'm looking for? It flows more naturally when you're drafting in the human draft. For instance, here's a lovely cycling card, that'll get to the cycling player. Here is a big stompy card, that'll get to the big stompy player. Here's a lovely flying evasive mutant, which we should put in our deck if we're still playing white, but we're probably not. Again, there's another cycling card there. But really, we are wanting to put in green cards, we want us to put in blue cards, and we're wanting a tiny amount of red at the moment. So these powerful white cards I'm kind of going to ignore, and I'm going to put in a really early pick Honey Mammoth. Just see what happens. So we're looking for ramp now. That kind of works. Yeah. Smooth out your draws. It's basically this draw for 1 mana becomes the best draw that you've got. We've got another Splendor Mare. I don't know this one. Loses all abilities. Prevents all the mutate from happening if cast in response. I quite like that. That does seem like something we would get a lot of value out of. But this is exactly the colours of our deck. Or more accurately, our mythic rare. So I think I kind of have to take that. Now, ooh, this is an awkward one. So, our mutate spells cost 1 less. Brilliant. But we stand another chance of finding our lands. Also brilliant. So, this being a common and the fact we've already got one, I'm going to take the symbiote. This has a really cool style as well, a card style, which we don't have. Is that the same crystal? Well, it is the ramp strategy. I just think migration path is probably better, because if we've got the lands, we can cycle that for 2, or that for 2. But if we cast that for 4, we get 2 lands out, which colour fixes us automatically. Yeah, that's harder ramp, so I'm going to take that. I mean, the flycatcher would be brilliant. That is exactly what we want to flip off the top of our deck. And I know I'm kind of obsessing over the mythic now, but this is the casual draft and I don't care. So let us keep going. Exile up to 3 enchantments. It's fine. It's good for standard, but it's not so exciting here. This can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. When you mutate onto that is great. If we're in black, we consider the Lurking Deadeye. Kills things that have just taken combat damage. But at the moment, I think we're going to stick with this. Okay, so kill a flyer, protect your guy, which is fine. I mean, ordinarily, yes. But I think we have to take the Rugged Highland. It says we've got 0 of 4, but that's just because it's new art and it's a new set, and we've got billions of these in various sets across the years. But I like a couple of tap lands if we're doing the 3 colour strategy, which you probably are in this format, especially if you open these things. Look at how pretty it is. Again, we don't really have to splash. I mean, put red lands in. I'm going to put 1 in because of Migration Path and Fertilid. But past that 1, then we can probably just, like, mutate normally. Of One Mind, I absolutely love. 1 mana, draw 2 cards is brilliant. But we do not have any humans. We are not that deck. We are the ramping deck. No, I think a second Honey Mammoth is not going to get cut from the deck. We can make some little things. This is better than it looks because one of these is a red dinosaur, which is not a human. So you can make a creature token and then you can mutate onto it straight away, and then your creature has haste forever. But is that what we want to be doing? We can use the new bits that they've put in here. So we've got 11 creatures, 6 non-creatures. So that counts as a creature spell. We're heavier at 4. We've got less to do at the start of the game. I mean, Blazing Volley's fine. Deadweight's brilliant, but we're not anywhere near black. I mean, I'm surprised that's as late as it is, but it sticks around on the creatures and makes them smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah, I think I want a 1/4 more. This is awkward. We don't want those anymore. We're 4 of 4 again. We're 4 of 4 across the board on these. The 0/5 turtle is something you can mutate onto and effectively gives your mutant haste. It's basically pushing them forwards 1. But the Mysterious Egg is so much better at that. So I'm going to take this purely because it says cycling 1. I'm going to put it in the sideboard though. I don't want it influencing my decisions particularly. Anticipate number 1 is always good. Look at the top 3 cards, choose 1 to draw, and then put the rest at the bottom is always going to be good. Whether that's what this deck wants, I don't know. Flash Crustacean is better than Dolphin for what we're doing, but yeah, I think it just goes into the deck. Oh, jeez. Dolphin Tribal. I can take those out, actually. Do we put this land in the deck? See, in the normal version, you have to go really quickly and you don't get to choose. Yeah, I think we'll put it into the deck. If you don't put it into the deck, it'll choose lands from your collection instead. So, here is where we decide whether to get greedy or not. This is probably my favourite art in the set. I currently have a playmat on order with this, but I haven't 100% decided whether I'm going with that one or not. I have got all 5 of the Mythos coming as prints for the corridor at the top of the stairs though. I've got 1 copy of it apparently, don't remember getting that. But I'm not going to be able to cast it. It's not really a thing that is going to happen. Unbreakable Bond, brilliant. I don't know why they're putting that as a 2.0. They haven't really thought about the fact that you're going to be cycling your creatures into the graveyard. Again, charge. I think that's quite a low rating for something that can excuse me, punch stuff straight from your hand. Because it's a punch spell, not a fight spell, or a bite spell, not a fight spell, it means that your creature doesn't take any damage because it's in your hand. So we are taking that. But mutate, double red mutate, it's fine, but it's not a great card anyway. The bounce spell is fine. This is a brilliant mutate target because you can keep untapping it. And so you've got your giant Lunar Apex of Wishes 6/6 flying trample. And then you just pay 2 mana each turn to untap it. Brilliant. Saltwater Cliffs later on would be fantastic, as would be the Bristling Boar. But we're not taking those pack 1 pick. Well, pack 3 pick 1. We're taking the fight spell because we lack removal. Overrating this. I don't believe that's why that's got 4. Ideally, I'd never be hard casting it. Yeah, so we probably don't want Honey Mammoth 3, is that? Yeah, not this early. But in terms of blue and green spells, we aren't left with much else. The put a reach counter on it is actually quite important in this format. I mean, we haven't got a Gust of Wind. That's a sorcery, and that's an instant. So I'm going to take that just because we're very weak to flyers. I mean, ironically, after picking sort of some of the flyers quite early on, we've ended up in a very dolphiny place. I don't know where that picture's come from. We'll go with that. See, here we go. So, we can take an Avian Oddity, but no, we've got to take the mutant. The mutant Heron is astounding. I'm even going to take it over a second copy of the removal spell that we have favoured. I want one of the cheap burn spells to come. I'd play that over most anything. So many copies of Fight as One. That goes brilliantly in the Vigilance deck. The Gust of Wind is fine, but I think a Vigilance or Reach Giraffid with the little bits of ramp we've got floating around is probably the best card there. I feel like I don't want to click a second time. We've already misclicked once today. This is why I tend to drag them across. Heartless Act is amazing. I don't know why that has been so undervalued by everybody else in the robots. The Death Touch thing is fine. Well, it's not Death Touch. Whenever this creature mutates, target creature opponent controls get -2/-2. So combined with the Life Drain triggers and the other black mutate spells, it's actually fairly solid. Anticipate would be great as well, but what this deck really needs is a fundamentally boring card. We have a Rugged Highlands, and now we have a Thornwood Falls. The Fog can be fine, but realistically, unless you've got an answer in your hand, then you're dead. So why not just cast the answer instead? Okay. I did not expect to see this so late. Space Godzilla Void Invader. I love this card, but I only have one of them. But I'm not taking it unless there's something. I mean, unless there's absolutely nothing in the pack. This blue card is to do with the cycling and flickering things. It can work, but you've got to have exactly the right cards for it. Whereas this works with everything. This draws you cards all day. If we were splashing black, then we'd want that, but we don't. We're splashing red. And, oops, why does this keep happening? But we, realistically, are just valuing these little evasive creatures a lot more than fourth colour things. Monstrous Step is fine. It's basically remove target creature. It allows you to get through if you put this on a trample creature, which is the perfect way of doing it, which why more in the red-green deck than this, but otherwise it's just a bit pathetic. It's like this, it doesn't kill the little things. It exiles, and exiling a massive pile of mutants is fabulous. But this has hexproof, and you can mutate onto it. So we're taking that. If you need a 3/6 flyer, then you've got the 3/6 flyer, but it is essentially a hexproof, not quite dinosaur. Otter 2? Or no, that's not the right crystal, is it? We didn't take the second version of that crystal, so I am tempted, but that goes in the flash deck beautifully. 3 damage is sometimes the difference between winning and losing a game, and you can do it to players, which seems mean. Ideally, I won't be running this card in any of my decks, exactly, but it's if you haven't got enough removal, you probably are. And it's colourless. I think we just want another otter more than we want a removal spell. I might be wrong. We won't know when we draw which. This is basically saying you should have been in the Fantastic Black Godzilla reanimation deck. Yeah, sometimes, well, I say that's something I should have really said right at the start. This does not behave like draft. This behaves like sealed. This is more about spotting the synergies in the cards you have than controlling the flow of the cards around the table like a draft is. You don't have control over this. Whatever you think you're taking and think you're passing, you are not. The robots do not care. Menacing Mutate Discard works well with that -2/-2 popping all the creatures. It's brilliant. But yeah, we take the one card that goes anywhere near our deck and we worry about it later. This is good in Mutate. It's surprising. You flash it in at the end of the turn, and it's a 3/3, and then you mutate whatever onto it, and it becomes, I don't know, what have we got the mutates? We haven't got anything, have we? No, they're all further down here. So it becomes a 3/4 with 3 +1/+1 counters on it, so it's a 6/7 that can attack that turn. So it's really good, but because of the nature of Magic, it has to cost 5 instead of costing 3. If it costs 3, it would be a fabulous card, but they have decided that the Mutate common, the colourless Mutate common, is this one and not this one. I don't think we need many 5-cost creatures, but I mean, I'm less likely to play the Sleeper Dart because we've got things that kind of do that ability. And we are ramp, so it's probably not going to cost us 5. I keep going to take these. I keep thinking, oh, well, we're in that colour, but that puts a trample counter on something. We may not be playing it because we've got quite a lot of nons. Ugh. I am going to take the control spell because we've only got 3 copies of it, and I don't want to play any more of those. Do we just take that for the collection? I think the second Anticipate goes in the deck. I think we've got enough ramp that we want some card selection. There's the Sleeper Dart we're taking. Although, Escape Protocol for the collection. Are we going to put this in the deck? That is the question. 2 mana, draws you a card. Yeah, we're going to put that in the deck. And Gloom Pangolin. The amount of last pick Gloom Pangolins, it's hilarious. It's a fine card, it really is. In the black deck where you can cycle things onto it, give it death touch and whatnot, it's fine. So, I probably don't want the Dolphins. Realistically, the best way to do this is to just slide through the whole deck and say, which of these cards are definite? So we're definitely playing Cycling 2/7/7. We're definitely playing 2 Honey Mammoths. The third one is probably taken out, but we're definitely playing 2. This is amazing. That, not amazing, but we're probably going to put it back in. The Mythic stays. The flycatcher stays, the heron stays. 2 migration paths is probably the right number. 3 and you're starting to draw them and having to cycle them, whereas well, in fact we can give the deck the right art. There we go. Migration path, blah blah blah. Bristling boar. So that's what we want to mutate onto, but we only really have 2 mutate creatures, so I'm going to go down to 1 of those for the moment. Recon mission, we don't have the little creatures that are flying through. Cry Station, I'm going to take all of the 1 attacked creatures out and we can put the best ones back in. That's fine, that makes our giant thing fly. Mind you, it's already got flying, so it'll be the hippo elephants that fly. I'm going to leave the crystal in at the moment just because that's a good source of the colours. 3 mana trick isn't brilliant. We only got 1 of those in the end. I can't remember what we took over it. It was another 3 mana thing, wasn't it? But might have been the Frostlinks. I say this is I often go back and look at the draft afterwards and wonder what the heck I was thinking at the time. With Sleepy Dark draws us a card, so we're keeping that. Survivor's Bond gets us a non-human back from the graveyard because we have no humans. We can prove that by clicking on here. The word human does not appear. Unfortunately, you can't do that for ability words, so you can't totally anticipate that for the moment. And the Mysterious Eggs. Come on. So that's 40 cards. Costs 1 less to cast if it has mutate. How many mutants do we need to make a 1/3 for 2 good? The answer is 0. It seems counterintuitive, but a 1/3 with upside if we find this or this is probably fine. Our mutant is not going to get to mutate very often. That's unfortunate. I mean, I think people have realised how stupidly good mutate is. I would happily take that out, but and you know, we're not short on creatures, and some of our non-creatures are like this, just ways to draw a card. So this basically says cycling 2, and then you can, its actual card is free. But we've got the punch spell, we've got Fertilids. Oh, see, we don't want 3 mountains. We've only got 2 red cards. Probably want to do that. I'm tempted to go down to 1 mountain because we've got the crystal, we've got the 3 ways of fetching a land. I suppose if we get 1 milled, then we need to have 2 mountains in the deck. It's a risky proposition, but I am fine with it. We could drop a land, but we've got so many 6 and 7 cost things that really not worth it. I want to play an Anticipate. Do I 41 with an Anticipate? Because what creatures have we got that we've taken out? The Cry Station has done good numbers for us before. I need a better way to look at the creatures. Let's have a look at this. This computer is so slow. It's 11 years old. It really shouldn't be able to play Arena. That's why all the card resolutions are so low. So all of our tricks and nonsense are very well spread out. And we haven't got any creatures at 2 if we take the Polywhat's it out. I don't know. If we anticipate and see any of our bombs, we're going to be keeping the bombs and throwing other stuff down. Migration Path technically thins the deck. I'm going to play at 41. I know people don't like doing that, but people are often wrong. Oops. I messed up. I wanted that. Tick-tock. Are we going back? So we were at 107.2, so we're now at 109.2, so we got 2%, so 50 drafts will get us a treasure chest, but as I say, we're very early in the set. We've not really found a good reason to open all the packs yet. I I genuinely don't know which deck we're playing, really. Let's get ostentatious and play with the stag. That's all my sleeves. And what is it? It's kind of Cynic value, I guess. It's a lot worse than our last draft deck, that's for sure. I wouldn't expect this to go much beyond a 3-3, purely because we're high silver at the moment. I'm not going to click play right now, but we got a Godzilla style, we got a nice mythic, and